G'day, Chief. Welcome to the Inner Chief podcast and this special episode, which we call the Mini Chief. These are short, sharp highlights from our fabulous CEO guests, where you get a 5 to 10 minute snapshot of the highlights from their episode. Righto, Chief. Without further ado, here is the Mini Chief episode for this week with Stephen Shedletzky. Can we just talk initially about what's going on in the world around the quality of speak-up culture? And in particular, has there been a trend post-COVID, you think, where maybe this is going in the wrong direction, or is it flat? Is it actually getting better? What are you seeing?
So I think a couple things. So one is, first and foremost, what do I mean by a speak-up culture?
Yeah. I'm
talking about speak-up culture from the lens of what makes teams and organizations operate and perform better. There's sort of a movement around speak up and speak out and challenge authority and a lot of sort of societal pushback. I'm happy to speak to that, and there's a place for that in this conversation. When I think about speak up culture, though, I define it as an environment in which members of a team feel that it is both safe, psychologically safe, and worth it to speak up. And speak up with ideas, to even if they're half-baked, to make things better, to offer feedback to one another, to those more junior, to those more senior in the organizational chart. And the purpose of feedback is in those first four letters, feed. It's not called knock down back. It's called feedback. The purpose of feedback is to help one another grow, to share concerns before they become ethical or real, tangible issues to a business, to disagree. It's one of the myths of a speak-up culture is that, oh, everyone gets along and agrees about everything all the time. No, that's a photopia. That's not how real relationships thrive. Real relationships thrive when we use conflict and tension to sort of propel upwards, to learn and grow. Yeah. Exactly. And to even admit mistake. So, psychological safety, and like I think COVID accelerated some things in the sense that a lot of folks had an experience where they evaluated their lot in life and sort of said, is this what I want? And so in some respects, I think there's been a great progress in what do I want out of life and career? Where do I want to live? What type of job do I want? Do I want career to be my number one goal? Do I want to work to live or live to work? Yep. So I think there's been, in some respects, a healthy evaluation. So yeah, I'm curious. What are your thoughts on it as well?
I wondered if what I'm seeing a little bit of is with the hybrid working, we still have a lot of that here in Oz, people working from home 2-3 days a week.
Yep.
And I just wondered if that was eroding some of the trust that is so required, because probably it leads into my next question, like the role of trust. By the way, I love that little framework, because one of the most important things is being able to sort of diagnose what's going wrong. And I love how it's, is this a safety issue or is this a worthy issue?
Yeah.
Because they both pop up, right?
Yeah.
When they are sort of connected, which is why you can have them in a little matrix with these great quadrants. But before we might just map that little matrix out in a second, but let's talk a bit about trust and what are the keys to building that trusting environment?
Well, so trust is more than a feeling. I'm leaning into work from my dear friend Rich Diviney, who wrote the book The Attributes. And Rich would say trust is more than a feeling. Trust is a belief. And I think that trust is a belief that another party or parties have your own best interests at heart and in mind and in practice.
Yeah.
And so, I'll give you a great example. We have a common friend in James Whitaker. He's who introduced us. I had a chance to meet James in LA. I recorded a podcast with him. Like, my experience of that guy is he is rooting for my success. Like, I have no doubt in my experience of him, though I've had 2 or 3 phone calls with him and had a chance to spend a morning with him. Like, I haven't known him for 10 years, But I was introduced to him from a friend. So already there's a reputational, well, my good friend trusts him. I'll likely trust James.
That's
I
right.
had a great experience with him. Now James introduces me to you. Like, that's how trust can grow through reputation. So our reputation walks in the door before we do.
Yeah.
James introduced us. I'm gonna like Greg.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I? If James and Greg are good friends, I think I'll get along just fine, right? Um, but trust is a belief that another party has your best interest in heart, mind, and practice, which means I'm willing to tell you the truth, even if it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
Which means hey, I don't want to do this deal for you because I don't think it's good for you long term. Let me explain why. Like, that's how trust is built, is through service orientation, is by having somebody else's needs, point of view in mind. Um, I've heard trust broken down into 4 C's: competency, consistency, compassion, and character. And that's also work that I've done with Rich Divinity on that and learned from him. So
Very much like that. I like that kind of model.
it's
I've
great.
heard one similar,
So
which goes likable, capable, reliable. Are you likable? Are you capable, which means you can do it? And reliable
yeah,
means you do it on time, every time, to the right level. Right. Because sometimes you could be capable, but then not turn up.
but what's nice is that's a Venn, like,
Yeah, exactly.
meaning
Yeah.
like you might be a bit lower on likability, but it's okay, because the other two are strong, as an
Exactly.
example.
So
And the other thing I'll just say, so on the work from home versus work hybrid, so I mean, introduce me to someone who's very pleased to be mandated. Like,
yeah.
mandates and happiness are not typically strongly correlated.
Yeah.
And so I'm a I'm a big believer in the nature of the work should dictate where the work takes place. And I'm all for in-person connection, and I want it to be strategic, because there's nothing worse than forcing your people to commute in, have time away from seeing their kids off to school, or take care of their dry cleaning or grocery or whatever, just to go into an office and frickin' sit on another virtual meeting. That makes zero sense. Make the time in person strategic and value add. And if you have to mandate back to office for the sake of the lease that you've put out on the office, you have bigger problems. Solve that.
There's something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this matrix shared, like in the book. So on the y-axis, we have this scale of sort of danger to safety. So danger at the bottom, leading up towards a really safe environment. And then on the x-axis, it goes from this apathy to impact. So bottom left is danger, apathy, right? Top left is safe, that apathy. Therefore, bottom right is dangerous but impactful. And top right is safe but impactful. And I think we're probably, almost all of us could almost pick an environment where, hey, that I was at that box, that was dangerous, and like this apathy, like what I was going to say, it was not my point. It wasn't worthy. It wasn't worth picking up. Can you maybe just talk through the model a little bit, and about why it really helps?
Yeah. So this is the thesis of the book, which is boiled down into a 2x2. Kim Scott, who's become a friend and endorsed the books, shared a very important role in writing a business book that you have to include a 2x2 matrix. So I literally took a 2-hour drive in the countryside and came up with it. I'm not joking, and I have the sketch of what I drew right here. So what's interesting is, if you have the book in your hand, you'll know that it's on the y-axis. I actually wrote safety to fear, but I realized that a couple things. One, speaking up in a speak up culture is not without fear. It's actually feeling the fear, using it as data, and then choosing how to pursue. And so I realized the opposite of safety isn't fear. The opposite of safety is danger, psychological danger. And then on the other axis is apathy to impact. So top right quadrant, we all want to be part of a team in relationships where there's a common perception that it both feels safe and feels worth it to speak up. It isn't without absence of fear, as I said, but it feels safe enough and that it is worth it that I have an intervention, that I speak up, that I share feedback, whatever it might be, and that I'm encouraged to do so, and just as, if not more importantly, rewarded after I've taken that risk and spoken up. So we all want to be there. That's the sort of sweet spot. And the sweet spot of a speak up culture includes tact, decency, respect, emotional intelligence, situational awareness. A speak up culture is not sucking up, and a speak up culture is not hall pass to be a jerk, right? Yep. There's that sort of sweet spot. We don't want to be in that lower left quadrant, which is an unhappy marriage of danger and apathy, or danger and futility. It isn't safe to speak up. And even if we did, nothing would change. We'd get in trouble and it would be status quo.
Yep.
And that's where we get resignation or quiet quitting. The other two quadrants are really interesting, though, is the upper left, as you said, is high safety, but low impact. You and I could be best of friends. We go back 25 years since our days at Suncor, whatever it might be. You realize, Greg, that I'm doing something that's getting in the way of my success. You feel safe to have that intervention with me. It's a great conversation and nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
And you wait 3 weeks and you do it again and nothing changes. Like, how many times do you return to a dry well before you look for better pasture?
That's right.
Right?
Beautiful.
So that's high safety, but low impact, which is the very reason why I've come to realize a speak up culture is both. Is it safe and is it worth it? The bottom right, is it isn't safe. It's dangerous, but it's worth it. This is Boeing. The folks, I believe I saw 34 confirmed whistleblowers, which is an external act, whistleblowing, but 34 people have raised their hand and said, I don't feel safe saying what's wrong with this manufacturing process or facility or culture, but I'm willing to raise my hand and take personal risk because something has to change. It's worth it.
Chief, there you have it for this week with our mini Chief episode. All the links and show notes can be found at chiefmaker.com/338. And if you'd like to stay in touch with Chiefmaker, just go to chiefmaker.com/subscribe. Now, Chief, do you want to take your game to a new level, or that of your people? Our mini MBA in leading high performance teams now has the highest NPS of any mini MBA style program in Australia at 91. Why? Because when you do the program, you get immediate and tangible performance improvement. You get dedicated time working on the business as opposed to away from it. We have a practical, real-world approach where we teach frameworks that you implement in your business as we go, and then you share and learn with your peers and with me as your coach. So the cost benefit is immediate, right? The weekly coaching sessions are live and you get a chance to ask questions direct to me and of your peers, and the time management is completely achievable because you're only spending a couple of hours a week on this at max, and those 2 hours are actually working on the business. So if you want to add something that really changes your game, that helps you become a real master of transformation and change, and to inspire your people and love your job, check out chiefmaker.com/mini MBA. Righto, Chief. As always, remember to stay epic.